Hey guys, I just wanted to welcome you once again to another episode of Survive to Thrive TV. I'm very excited today to have really our first recording of an episode done in this virtual interactive Zoom style meeting. So I'm very excited about that. Usually we have our guests live, but I didn't want to wait around to have this particular guest either come over to Dallas or we go to California. I figured let's just take advantage of technology and have her on. You know, there's just some people that I believe are so valuable in what they do that their story not only has to be told, but the world needs to know what they can learn from them in order to improve wherever they may be in life. And that's the whole theme of our show, right? It's about surviving to thriving and finding examples of people who are on that thrive journey because of a place of frustration that they've arrived at. And today's guest is really no different. Amy Perkins is someone that I've been tracking on LinkedIn for quite a while. And, it's funny. There's some people that just jump out at you on social media. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's some people who they just grab your attention right away because of their message, their enthusiasm, and they just bring something fresh to the platform. And so I've been watching her and reading her posts and her comments and her stories. And it got to the point that I just started to comment back. And then that led into a conversation. And the more I got to know her story, the more I thought to myself, she'd be great for the show. So we reached out, we spoke a little bit, and I was right. My instincts were correct. She's a great person to have on the show. So before I bring Amy on and sort of have her share her thoughts, her story, her life, her heart, and her wisdom, you need to know a little bit about her. She's easy to find on LinkedIn. I mean, you kind of just type in Amy Perkins and there she is and all her information and videos. And I really believe she's just on the cusp of something great. I think her star is rising big time. But she had 25 plus years in the education field, and we have similar backgrounds. I also came from the background of social work and education. And, one thing we share is that we believe in empowering and helping people. And I believe she got involved in education early on the same way I got involved in social work. It certainly wasn't for the money. Right, Amy? It wasn't for the money, right? It was because we believed that we could bring change and value into the lives of others. And it's funny, when I got away from doing social work and got involved in what I do now, I didn't leave behind my roots of helping people and caring for people. That was part of my DNA. I came with that package. It's in my brochure. I'm just expressing it in a very different way now. And her story is very similar. 25 years in education. That heart is the heart of an educator, of an impactor, of an influencer. That's who she is at the core. That's her DNA. Now she's taken that passion, that calling, and channeling it into something different that is making, I believe, a great impact on people and even a greater impact moving forward in the future. So guys, help me welcome Amy Perkins.
Thank you, Jay.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
So, Amy, you've got a pretty interesting story, right? I'd like for you to share, for those who don't know your story yet, kind of where did you come from and where are you today that makes you the Amy Perkins that's on the rise?
Well, like you said, Jay, I was in education for 25 years. I started teaching elementary school when I was 21. And for the first 9 years, I was in the classroom. I also got into some consulting. In that time, I had a mentor, a superintendent that saw something in me, and I was right out of teaching like 2 years in, and I was doing consulting for entire school districts, hundreds and hundreds of teachers at a time. I was consulting. So that wanting to help and teach was always there for kids and for a bigger level. And then when I had my own kids, I didn't want to be in the classroom full time. So 9 years into teaching, I went into consulting and coaching. So I was a new teacher coach. And I felt like I could then make an impact on these new teachers that they could go and make an impact on their kids. So I was still doing that work that fueled my soul, just a little different. And what happened really was this pivotal point. My best friend from college, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and she died. And that was just one of those, I mean, it was a big, huge wake-up call. I kind of felt at that point in my life that I had been going through the motions a little bit and maybe not living as big an amazing of a life as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And when she died, I got gratitude on another level. You know, we go through our day, and I think a lot of times it's easy to just get into this like complaining mode and kind of victim mode. And I had some things going on at work and that I didn't really agree with, and the integrity of the leadership wasn't in line with my values. And, you know, when my friend Tracy died, I became grateful for like the ability to walk, the ability to sleep pain-free, the ability just for living. And I realized I didn't want to waste my time in this victim mode of, you know, woe is me. These people in leadership are awful. It was an awful situation. And so I dug deep, because I kind of made a promise to her, you know, when she died, that I was going to do whatever I could to live an amazing life and to do the work I needed to do. So I started getting really uncomfortable and doing things that were scary and pushing myself out of my comfort zone to kind of see, you know, how I could grow. And that kind of led me to making that decision, you know, to quit last spring. It hasn't even been a year yet.
And how did you arrive then? I mean, once you quit, right? I'm sure that was probably pretty scary, doing something that you had done for so many years, right?
Terrifying.
I mean,
terrifying.
Yeah. You know, most people who get accustomed to doing something for so long, they stay stuck at a place of complacency, right?
Yep.
It may not be what they like, it may not be what they want to do, but they're complacent, and they'll kind of, they deal with the daily drudge of it, because it's more fearful to do something different than it is to stay where they're at.
Yes.
What was it about that you decided, okay, I'm frustrated? What triggered inside of you to take that leap of faith, which most people don't do?
So it was a lot of little steps. I always had felt that I knew I had so much value to bring to my job that I was doing. And I was looking around and just literally seeing this sea of mediocrity. And I wasn't inspired by anybody I worked with. Things were going on that I didn't agree with, and nobody else thought anything was wrong with it. And I got to the point where it was so out of alignment with what I was about. And it had been a good solid year of me getting uncomfortable on an intentional daily basis. I actually had started a little side business that was also in education. It was a fitness program for kids that I was bringing to schools after school. And starting that business was a real exercise in getting out of my comfort zone. I had never done anything quite on this scale. I found someone to partner with because I had this concept and idea for this business, but I didn't want to go get certified in fitness. So I had reached out to a woman that was a Reebok sponsored athlete that trained fitness coaches all over the US. She had her own studio here. And so me reaching out to her, that was a really scary thing to do. I just kept doing scary things. So for a full solid year before I quit, I was daily doing things to get me outside of my comfort zone. And when you do that, you realize that's where the growth happens. Every single no that I got, I survived. You know, I had been in this wanting to not fail, wanting to stay safe. I played it safe. That's why after 25 years, I was like only at this certain point, even though I knew I could do bigger, greater things. I didn't look at failure as a good thing. I looked at it as a bad thing. So I reframed all of that. And I started realizing that the good thing is failing because it means you tried. You tried something that was difficult and outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
And as I did more and more and more of these things, opening myself up to failure, opening myself up to rejection.
That's the word, rejection. Yeah.
And being okay with it and embracing it and realizing, you know what, that is good instead of bad. Doing that for a year, I built self-trust. You know, before that, I was kind of living in this imposter syndrome where inside I knew like I had so much to offer, but then it was like, but you have 3 college degrees in education. This is all you can do. It's kind of what I told myself. Yeah, you see all these other things and you see opportunities that you could take and make magic happen, but who are you to do that? You can't. Like, that's what I would tell my internal dialogue until I did this process of starting this business, this side business, and I saw, no, actually, you can do amazing things. And because of building that self-trust, that was that step that helped me take that leap. And I knew, even though it was scary, and I burned my bridges, burned my ships big time, because not only did I quit, I made a video about why I quit, because it was such a horrible thing that had happened. And I just was sick of not having a voice. And having everybody around thinking that these things that were going on were okay when they weren't. So doing the scary things is where the magic happens. It's scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned something that people struggle with, and as you're going through your great story there, all I kept hearing was a person who struggles with limiting beliefs. I can't, but I'm so used to doing this. I'm so used to doing that. Who's going to listen to me? Who would pay attention to me? I'm just this, I'm just that. And, you become your worst enemy, right? Your battles are so internal that it really doesn't matter what anyone else would say externally. You're still dealing with your own battles with what's going on in your head. And I think that's probably where a lot of people struggle, right? They're so deep in those limiting beliefs that they're handicapped, they're handcuffed to them, they're enslaved by them. And what's impressive about you is that you didn't allow that to really rob you of your journey, of your future.
It was work. It wasn't easy. It was work.
Well, tell us about the work, because I think that's what people want to know.
Okay.
What do I need to do to break free of these limiting beliefs?
So for me, the pivotal point after my friend died, and I just knew, like, you have to do things differently. That was that point. I found a book by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule.
Yes.
And I needed this book to get out of my own way. So if anybody's listening that needs to get out of their own way, go watch Mel Robbins' TED Talk. I think it has 18 million views. Go buy her book, download it on Audible. She actually has a syndicated TV show coming out in the fall.
Wow.
This book, this 5-second rule premise is when you have the impulse to act on an action, to do something, if you don't do it within 5 seconds, you will shut down and you won't do it. So for me, starting this business that I was starting, this little side business, it was terrifying, like setting up meetings, talking to people about the idea, worrying about what people would think. All of that was terrifying, but I knew I needed to get out of my own way. And so when I read this book and it talked about this rule, every time I needed to either send an email to someone, which to me at the time was terrifying. Like now I'm a totally different version of myself than I was 2 years ago. But I would have to write the email, like in my head, do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and like send it. And even though I was sick and nervous and scared and looking back like it's stupid, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They could ignore my email. They could say no thanks. But for somebody that's stuck in those limiting beliefs, that's terrifying. That rejection is terrifying. Going up to somebody, talking to somebody about an idea when you're not self-confident is terrifying. So I needed that 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I would just go up to the person. I would just make the phone call. I would just talk about my idea. And I did that, and I used that rule all day, every day for months until it just became natural. And I realized that the rejection nothing happened. The world didn't end. Here's the craziest part, Jay. When I read her book, she was the #1 book female speaker in the world, I think last year, and her book is a #1 bestseller. Her Audible show, it's called Kick Ass with Mel Robbins. That was the #1 Audible book, like of all time. I was so inspired by this book. I was like, I need to meet this woman. So I wrote it down. I'm going to meet Mel Robbins. I wanted to get coached by her, but I looked her up and I realized that she didn't do one-on-one coaching anymore. She used to. But I was at this point when I'm like, I'm not going to let that stop me. I don't know how, but I'm going to meet her. 3 months later, I found myself on stage at Creative Live in San Francisco There was an audience of 35 people. Mel Robbins picked me out of the audience, had me
Wow.
mic'd up, and I got one-on-one coaching, live streamed
Wow.
throughout the world, with
Wow.
millions of people watching.
Wow. Talk about law of attraction. Talk about putting it out there, right? Wow. That's
I've
awesome.
since, I've since met her 4 times. I've flown to Boston. I was in studio when she recorded her Audible book. I mean, the craziest thing. This is what happens when you get out of your own freaking way.
Mm-hmm. 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 You know, it's funny. You said something 2 years ago. And it's interesting because sometimes people think that it has to take this long period of time for change to occur, right? And for you, the decision to change happened right away, and you know, a little bit of time working at it, working at it. But it's only been 24 months from the older version of you to the new version of you. It only really took probably sooner than that, but since you mentioned 2 years ago, it's 24 months. So 24 months, the Amy Perkins who existed 24 months ago is not the same person who exists today. And how did it happen? A decision. You took action. You know, there's one thing I've always said, is serious people do serious things. That's how you know they're serious, right? Serious people do serious things. People with intention do things with intention, right? You did. And look at the repercussions. 4 times now you've met with Mel Robbins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic. And you're only in the initial stages of this journey. So it's a great study for someone to realize that it's a decision away. You read a book, one book, right? One book. Now imagine if you hadn't read that book. Right?
Oh my gosh, I look back and imagine if I hadn't done all of these different things. I mean, there's all I can say, and I can't even say this strongly enough. If you want to change anything in your life, it is little everyday action that leads to amazingness. It is just showing up day after day, do the scary things. If you want to change, you have to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do the same thing and expect a different result. And we let the outside world, I did anyway, tell me how to be, what I could do. And once you realize the outside world can't tell you any of that. I have 3 college degrees in education. Right now, one of the jobs that I'm doing, I'm a consultant and a coach at a multiple 7-figure dental practice. I have helped her explode her business. She had her biggest month in production in January in 20 years. And it's because I took the skill set that I had in education that I just have within me, and I can see things differently. And while education didn't want to see that, they didn't want to hear me, they didn't want to know that, this pediatric dentist that believed in me and saw the value that I had to add was like, I'm going to hire you as my consultant. I have 0 dental background. I have 0 business background. I have 0 PR background. I've gotten her on TV 4 times now. We were just on TV together yesterday. Wow. Anything is freaking possible if you start believing in yourself and you stop listening to the outside noise.
It's great. You said the key thing, you said, get out of your own way. You got out of your own way. And I think that's when most people struggle. They can't help but get in their own way. You have to get out of your own way.
I know.
That's why I love you're the founder of Keys to Courage, right? Tell me a little bit about that, and where do you see that going, and what's the next 5-10 years look like for Amy Perkins?
So I have a website, keystocourage.com. I have a free newsletter that I just started out of wanting to share these stories. I mean, I have so many stories about how I took action and what the result was. And I want that for other people. I don't share it to say, look at what I'm doing. I share it to say, I took this step and then this happened, and go take that step today. So I have a newsletter that's free. It's once a week, and you can sign up for that on my website. I also have a course that I designed because I did this thing. What I did when I was starting my journey, when I got that 5-second rule, I designed my dream life. I figured out what I wanted that to look like in the areas of friendship, in my marriage, relationship with my kids, and my career. Mm-hmm. And I did this process. I designed my dream life. And here I am, like less than 2 years later, living it. Mm-hmm. And it's literally the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I'm just getting started. So I created that course for people that just want, maybe you like my content, my blog, my newsletter, but it's a workbook and it's a video series that goes together. So like a little deeper in how to do that. Like, what's that look like? What did you do? It's what I did. And I'm doing speaking. I spoke at a conference with 200 women in Napa on Sunday, and that was electric. It was amazing. And the people that I'm meeting on this journey are incredible. So what does it look like? I don't know, but I'm surrendered to the fact that I've stopped like holding on tight and trying to plan my life out. That's what I did. I did that. I mean, I was like a senior in college, and I'm going to start teaching next year. Then I'm going to get my master's degree, and I'm going to get married. I'm going to buy a house. And yeah, I did all that, but it wasn't really amazing because I was holding on. I was white knuckling my way through life. And my word this year is surrender. So I don't know quite where I'm going to be in 5 to 10 years, but I know I'm going to be somewhere amazing, surrounded by incredible people. And we're all going to be like lifting each other up to go to that next level and make a bigger impact.
Awesome. Awesome. I want you to touch on something real quick, because you're right. One of the things that as me and you've spoken a few times now, you're on the go, right? In fact, just the other day we were chatting, and I'm at the parking lot at the supermarket, and you're kind of doing your thing too. So, for a lot of folks, sometimes who they're running the same, script. They're parents, children, career, all sorts of stuff. You've got a lot going on. Your wife, your mom, you got 4 children, I believe, right?
Two.
Oh, 2 children, 2 things. Got 4, right? I just gave you 2 more. I'll take them back. But you've got a lot going on.
I do.
And there's a lot of people that listen to these shows, and sometimes they think to themselves, oh my God, I've got my own stuff going on. I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I have kids. How can I find the time to even pursue my dreams? And it's not easy, but it can happen. So kind of share a little bit of what you're doing with your time, and what disciplines have you developed to be able to be a mom and a wife and a business builder and so many other things, that you're a friend and a family and a sister or whoever, and still manage to take this business and what you're doing and continue to move it forward.
Well, first, I think we need to get real honest with ourselves on what our priorities are. I think a lot of people waste a lot of time. I don't watch TV. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I go to the gym. I work out every single day. My health is utmost importance. I don't make excuses. My kids are in school full time, so I don't have babies. I don't know that I could do this. Actually, I did start a business when my daughter was a baby. I had a children's clothing line. So I think a lot of people make excuses, and you need to look at your day and see what's filling you up with joy and what's sucking you dry. And if something's sucking you dry, do less of that. I don't have people in my life that suck me dry. I don't do activities that suck me dry. I make priorities for the people in my life. I'm on phone calls, not texts, with my friends every week. I make my kids a priority. They see what I'm doing. So me doing all this business, these big things, my daughter and my 15-year-old daughter, my 9-year-old son, and my husband and my parents drove an hour and a half to watch me speak on Sunday. Wow. That's how I'm impacting my kids. They're seeing me. They're seeing their mom go out there and do it. So none of this is in isolation. It's all together. I want my kids, my daughter, in her room on her whiteboard, it says, if you aren't failing, you're not trying hard enough.
That's great.
I want them to get that lesson now, not mid-40s like I did. I want them to view failure as a good thing. And I want them to see me working hard. I read books every day on Audible because I don't have time to sit and read. I read every day. I'm listening to podcasts every day. I'm working out every day. My house is clean. My kids are fed. My family knows they're loved, and my friends know they're loved. It's possible, but you have to prioritize. And a lot of people spend a lot of time on nonsense.
That's absolutely right. If you cut down the crap a little bit, right? You can actually increase more time for the things that are really valuable. Cut down the crap, and you'll find time for the stuff that's valuable.
You do. And in people that would say, I don't have time to exercise. Exercise for me, it's like a mental exercise as well as physical. If I don't exercise, I just don't feel good. 4:30 in the morning. I mean, a lot of people probably can go, you can fit it in. You can work out at home. You can do that. I meditate every day. I just make time for the things that give me that energy that I need to go.
So as we wrap up the interview, there's always one golden nugget, one bit of information that makes the greatest impact. I got to tell you everything you have shared, anyone who walks away with, even if we ended it right now, without getting something from what you said, is either brain dead or a zombie, or they just weren't paying attention, right? That's as if they weren't paying attention. But what's the greatest impact that you think that your life so far and your message and what you're doing, the person who stops watching this episode can walk away saying, wow, Amy Perkins has impacted me in X way. What's that impact that you want people to walk away with after watching you on this episode?
I lived a life for 25 years trying to play it safe. Not wanting to fail, not wanting to get rejected. I wish I would have known then what I know now, that failing is a good thing. It means you're trying. So get out there and do things that you might not succeed at, because that is where the magic happens.
Awesome. So don't fear failing. Just go out and try it, right? Beautiful. And you're an example of somebody who got past that fear of failure. And 2 years into it, you're making an impact already. 5 years from now, as you said, who knows, right? I mean, who knows? So where can people find you? They want to track you down.
So I have a YouTube channel. It's Amy Perkins. It's Keys to Courage. I have a website, keystocourage.com. I'm on Instagram at Keys to Courage. And I'm on LinkedIn, Amy Perkins. And I am right now taking a fellowship with Seth Godin, and I'm creating a podcast. So I'll have a podcast out soon, Keys to Courage.
All right. Awesome. Now, obviously, I have to ask you one question because it's so obvious. When is the book coming out? I got a book somewhere.
People, oh my gosh, hounding me for a book. But I think right now the first step is the podcast, because that way I can just start sharing it, and then the book will come. It's all going to come. I don't know. Right.
It'll come. Right. All in its right time, the right season. It'll all come. Amy, it's been an absolute blast having you on the show. I think that as I continue to bring value, you're just raised it up another notch. So I appreciate you taking the time out today. And guys, make sure that you continue to tune into our episodes. This is what it's about. It's about stories of people that are thriving. And whether it's one story or another, you're going to find somebody that you can resonate with. So make sure that you follow us. Make sure you like and share and comment on our episode today. And we'll see you guys next time.